All right. There we go. All right. It's on. So we're good. All right. So my name is Zenaida Desiderio, and this is.
I'm Rashonda. Hi there, everyone.
So the one of the things that I wanted to start was this called Let's Talk. Hold on. Let me just make this public real quick. All right. All right. Now we're public on Facebook. So one of the reasons why I wanted to do a Let's Talk, so it can bring out some rawness. And
Right.
one of the topics for today is called the power behind patience. Now, the reason why I wanted to do this is because I learned that the in between is always sometimes left out, or it's talked too fast. To
Mhm.
me, how I changed drastically in the areas that needed to be changed as far as my weight loss, my mental health, and finances and everything was the smallest details that I watched other people do or talk about. And that encouraged me, that inspired me. And it was like, man, so I'm not that crazy then. So this is like real life. You're feeling the exact same thing I'm feeling. So I wanted to take this opportunity and have this conversation to talk about the small little details.
Mhm.
So one of the things that I wanted to talk about was, like I said, the power behind no, yeah, the power behind patience. So
Okay.
just like with with any benefit, you want to know what the benefits are. So I'm gonna talk into that.
Okay.
So um, I at one point was a very impatient person. You know, I
Yes.
don't know if you knew that or not. You visually saw me go from one business to another business to another business, and I learned no matter how great your ideas are, if
Well, trust me,
if
you're not the only one that goes from a business to a business. I mean, a lot of times we all have those ups and downs and we change. Like we were saying before, like I told you, I'm a great starter, but you want to be an awesome finisher as well. So you
right, so that's it was my most frustrating thing. I'm like, how come the money is there, the ideas are there, but how come I could not finish?
Mhm.
And that's what the frustrating part was. And I realized that no matter how successful or how much you figure it out, if you don't have this, you don't have nothing.
Right.
That's just my personal opinion. Because you need this to finish that. That's just my
Right.
opinion. So one of the things, let me just see if so one of the things that I want to talk about is like, what is it? So what's the difference between um, procrastinating and patience? But this is where you have to be really raw with yourself. Like you have to be raw dog real with yourself, because the only way you're going to be honest, no, because Shawnee, you can find anything out there to support your decision. Is that fair to say?
Mhm.
If you want to be procrastinating, if you want to procrastinate, you're going to find something that says, you know what, you need to rest.
Right.
But how do
Excuses.
you,
You
yeah.
always have an
So
excuse.
but maybe you do need to rest, but how do you know what works for you? This is where you're the only one that can answer that question. How do you know if you're procrastinating or if you're patient? So this is where you have to be so raw with yourself. Every day I have to fight this. It's not so much like, oh, I lost 100 pounds. Like, oh, we good. This is this is something I have to battle every single day. I
Right.
always say like my demons love me. They be like they're coming in flocks now,
Right.
because it's like, wait, you can't go to the next level yet.
Mhm.
So to me, like, I call myself out. So this is just my version of how I do things, but I call myself out when I'm feeling. If I want to know if I'm being procrastinating, if I'm being patient, there's a couple of things that I do. I call out all my excuses out loud. I'm like, are you lazy? Does your knee hurt? Does your back hurt? So if my excuses starts piling up even more, then I'm like, maybe I am procrastinating. So then I get up and I
I
finish.
think you gotta also understand with that. I mean, sometimes I don't think it's that cut and dry because when it comes to that, you gotta also prioritize. Because just because you may feel that you're procrastinating, it may not be a priority. Because I guarantee you, when it's time for you to get up and go to work, everything that you would have normally done, you put it to the side. So
Right.
when there's
You get
when there's
there.
something that you need to do or when you need to prioritize, you will do it. So I
Right. You're going to need to go to work. So that's for sure.
But if something is not a priority, like you were saying, you started businesses and you stopped them. But have you ever stopped by and asked yourself, is it something that I want to do? Maybe you're not meant to be an entrepreneur because if it was a priority and if it was something that you really wanted to do, there's nothing that really could stop you. So that's how, when I started figuring out things about myself, I started wondering, wait a minute, the same energy that I had, for example, being a flight attendant, I get up and put on that hat and I would go and fly to friendly skies with only 3 hours of sleep. But when it was time to do something else, I always found an excuse. So I realized if there's something that you really want to do, something that you're passionate about, something that even drives you, you'll find a way. So that's why sometimes you got to step back and ask yourself, is this really what I want to do? So I think sometimes it's a fine line between the procrastination. Sometimes it can be laziness, but sometimes it also can be that it's not what you're doing is not a priority at that time.
So what I found out is that I called out all my excuses. Like when I was like in the process of losing 100 pounds, I would lay on that bed for 15 minutes and I'd be like, man, I do not want to do this. I don't. And so, but I was like, I have to change my attitude. I have to change my mindset. So instead of entertaining the can't, I'd be like, but you got to. You
Right.
have to do it. You have to. You have no choice. You have to do it. So I started changing my tone. So even though I call out my excuses out loud, I have to change out my tone to almost be louder than my excuses.
Right.
And then so like, okay, so how do you know if it's patience? To me, like this is what works for me. Planning has helped my patience.
Mm-hmm.
Like like for every Sunday, I write out a schedule what I'm going to do all week for my workouts. And but I'm not obsessed with my schedule because if it rains on one of my run days, I'm like, oh, my whole week is ruined. That's a bad attitude because you still have to be flexible. So the thing is like the planning helps my anxiety, but it does. I don't have to be so obsessed with planning that that the that I'm driven by planning. I'm very flexible. So so planning helps my anxiety instead of winging it. I meet a
Okay.
lot of people that wing it and then they don't finish nothing because
Right.
now you're flooded with excuses. Like,
Right.
well, you could take a day off, and next you know you took 3 days of days off, 3 weeks of days off. So it's not bad to like to plan, but don't let it be an anchor into your life. So, and
So
then
have you found that over the years that has that been the missing element that you have that you feel that you just jumped in the water without that life jacket and did things except for stepping back and making sure you were more prepared?
so I went to this business conference, and this guy said you need to have the five whys. You
Mm-hmm.
need to know what the five whys are. If you don't have the five whys, you're going to be defeated. I was very offended by that. I was like,
So what was one of the five
oh,
whys that stuck with you
oh, I
more?
know what I'm doing. Oh, I
So
know what I'm doing.
what was one of the five whys that really stood out of the ones that he mentioned?
So he was like, if you want to start a business, if you want a business, whatever your accomplishment is, right? Like whatever it is, you need the five whys. So
Okay.
I actually wrote it down. So
Okay.
like one of the next things I want to talk about is like what makes you impatient, and I was able now to identify the five whys. I couldn't when I was starting businesses, I could never finish the five whys. I could never. I was just
Okay.
driven. But what was driving me? I had to be honest with myself. But after I lost everything twice and gained 100 pounds and became a successful alcoholic,
That's a wake up call.
I had to be honest with myself and I
Right.
figured out what my five whys were. So the thing is like if you're able to identify what makes you impatient, you know exactly it will help you slow down. If you can identify what makes you impatient, it will be able to help you slow you down. So I was so here. this was my why chart for why I, why are you impatient? Because
So what was one of the five whys though? I mean, so he gave you a list of
I couldn't finish it. I never had the answers.
so he told you there were five whys, but you never
I
got it.
just made it up. I was like, oh, this sounds good. Yep, this sounds about right. But there was no meaning towards it. It was just
Okay.
like, oh, I was so fake about it. I was fake about my five whys because it sounded so good. But it wasn't my five genuine whys. It was
Right.
bull crap. I really want to say the other word, but I'm being nice with my language right now. It was bull crap. But I wasn't honest about that. I wasn't honest about that back then. I was determined, but I was determined and driven, and I'll explain by my fifth why what it was. But I wasn't honest about what that was. So why? So I made up my five whys. Why were you impatient? Because I felt I needed to make sure that I took care of myself. That was my first why. Why do you need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself? Because I was so broke when I got furloughed from the military that I never wanted to make sure that never happened to me again. So why don't you want that to happen again? Because there was a day that I was begging at the veterans office for assistance and they couldn't help me because I didn't qualify. And I remember how much in tears I was. So, and then how did it make you bitter? How did it make you feel? It made me bitter. I
Mm.
was so bitter that I was like, how dare you not help me? And then after that, I promised myself to be the most successful person there was. And so why were you bitter? Because I felt like I deserved better.
Okay.
That is raw. And you know what? You know what drove me to success? Bitterness. And that's why I failed. That's why I fell apart. So now my mission is different. It has a strong foundation of love, unselfishness, and I don't get a penny from it. And it's like I love it even more. And I'm able to answer my five whys without thinking about it.
Okay.
So my five whys, I use it for my negative so I can dig what holds me back. The five whys is also for success, but I use the five whys for my downfalls so I can see what is holding me back. How big of a hole did I dig myself into?
Right.
And that comes through honesty. And that's why your yes is needed is far more than just a workout. Your yes is needed for your honesty. Your yes is needed for your transparency. Your yes is needed for your decisions in life. Your yes is for the good and the bad. It's you.
So,
That's what
honestly,
power you have.
now that we're on that, I mean, when you really think about the power behind patience, this is what guided you into this journey that you're on right now. Talk what about this yes is your yes is needed? I mean, I mean a little bit more about iron therapy. There are a lot of people that are on here that may not know you, that may know you, but they see the weight loss, they see the journey, they see the videos, they see the iron therapy t-shirt, but what really is the purpose? I mean, what do you want everyone that supports you to really walk away that with that yes being needed? I mean, so what is this? Just kind of like give us like
Your yes is needed is all about you. It has
right.
nothing to do with me. No matter how many people say they did stuff for you, they can only have an impact on you. No human being can change your life. They can only make an impact on you. You're the only powerful person in this world that can change your life
Yeah.
because you have to say yes. You have to. If you want your yes for a better change, for faith, for to live a crappy life, you have to say yes to it. The more you start blaming other people, the more you start blaming my past, my dad, my mom, how I grew up, the devil. I've heard that too many times, but you don't take accountability for yourself, you're always going to be running around. Next thing you know, you're going to be 40 and still trying to figure out why you're still in the same situation
Well,
because
I'll
you're
be 48 in 5 days. So sometimes we do get to a point in life where we do step back and we
I
say,
turned
wow.
40. I turned 40 in August.
Listen,
So
but honestly, when you think about it, it's like it's an ongoing cycle. And I think what happens is even in the midst of being in this pandemic, the one thing that when it comes to the patients, this is the first time I think, and with my age and seeing what's going on in the world, that people are forced to be patient. Some people don't have that characteristic. It's something that you can't go where you want to go. You can't do what you want to do. So people are being forced to come into their own and realize, wait a minute, this was an element that was missing. And honestly, now that people are at homes and they're looking at themselves and they're like, wait a minute, what's going on? So now we're really forced to get back to this part of being patient.
Johnny,
And so,
like when I say I was the most in-person patient, people would be like, "Do you go home? Do you have a home?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So the thing is, I was always running around because I loved keeping myself busy because it was always busy up here. It was
right.
never peace up here. It was always busy. The more busier I kept, the more I was able to run away and deny what was going on. So because that gets into the next step of the fear of the unknown. The thing is like if I can just know what's going to happen, I can plan better. If I can control the future, I can control my anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Bullcrap. Bullcrap.
Mm-hmm.
You can't control everything. And
Right.
I was so self-reliant. I was like, I got this. Oh, I got this. And it whooped my butt. Man,
Right.
I was wiped. I've never been so drained. The fact that I can be like, you got it. You win. It has been the most peaceful, winning thing I've ever felt like in my life. And I have nothing to show for it. I
Wow.
do, but compared to what I used to have, because I know I can get that back. And
Right. Right.
I would want to get it back with this mindset now because I can do so much better.
Well, see,
But
when you change your mindset, then you can keep it. Because the point about it is, if you came to this place where you are right now and you didn't start working up here, then it's inevitable that you were bound to
it's just
repeat.
a recycling bin.
It would have been a
You just become a recycling bin. The
and
fact that
that's
if you know how to reach a certain level, you get back there again. But then if
right.
you never took care of what you left, if there's unforgiveness, if there's or if there's like bitterness, hatred, whatever, you're gonna repeat the cycle all over again.
That's
And
right. That's
you can feel like you're successful, you can have the nice house, you can have the business, but you're gonna feel empty.
and you know, and
Nothing's worse when you're successful and it's bland.
and one thing about that too is that when you look at society, everything is rushed in society. If we don't do things right away, then if you don't get married at this age, if you don't do this at this age, then it's like you're gone. You can't do anything. We're not taught to just be patient. We're not taught to wait our turn, or you know what, don't look at what Susan is doing. You have your own path. And that's why I think that's one element that we really are missing a lot. And someone just said, yeah, you change your mindset. It's all here. You got to change that mindset or
That's
your
why I say pay the price. Pay
yes.
the price is not torture yourself because the more you avoid it, the more you run away, the more you don't want to confront it, the more you think that you're getting away with it, you're going to end up paying your price anyhow. That's why when I lost it the first time in April 2018, and I took 2 weeks of emergency leave, and then I came back, and a coworker of mine said, "I don't want to tell you what to do, but don't make the mistake that I made and rush going back to normal."
Hmm.
And so what she was like, I was like, no, I plan to take all my appointments. I plan to take it one out. I don't plan to skip any because I used to skip all my appointments. And then, but even though I agreed to take my time, I remember when I gave the 17 appointments to my manager and I purposely stared in her face because if she made any kind of like face expression, I would be like, nope, 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 nope. I don't want it. Nope, because I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be a burden. But you got to take care of yourself no matter
You
what.
know what? It starts with the individual, and I've known you for over 20 years, and
Mhm.
and I think this is the most accountable because it's about accountability too, and that's the one thing I've been noticing about myself. One thing, real quick, my mother, who's also my pastor, Pastor Cheryl, hi there. One thing that she always teaches us is this. It's called a mirror. And that's what everyone needs to do every once in a while. You got to take that mirror. She used to call it mirror therapy. Because I think what happens in life, because when we talk about that procrastination, and it's all about excuses. So what we do is we try to find someone to put the blame on also why we're not where we're at. But the one thing I notice about you and what I'm doing right now, when we take and look at that mirror and we talk to that person, this is the person that has to make the change. And I think that's the one a lot of times what people don't do. Along with that mindset, you got to go and talk to that person in the mirror because that's who has to make the change. And that's the one thing that I've noticed and I can commend you to is that the excuses were out the door. You had to take and work on Zenaida. And I think that's the reason why, like, for example, when I look at you, when someone loses weight like really fast, we were talking about that, and maybe with surgery or something, if they don't take their time, then they're going to gain the weight back. But because you took your time and you were patient to take the weight off, because you got to understand, not only were you taking the weight off, but you were also healing yourself at the same time. So by you
Right.
taking that time
That's why
and
it's important not to skip steps.
that's why you can't
Because
skip the steps,
you
right?
need every chapter. Just like a book, you can't go from 1 to chapter 4 because you're gonna miss those chapters. That's why
Right.
when people rush back to normalcy, you're making it worse. You're making
Right.
it worse because you're rushing back to what you thought was normal, and then you realize, like, man, I just put myself in a worse situation.
And
So
you said exactly what's going on right now. I keep hearing everyone with this pandemic, I want to get back to normal. I want to get back to normal. And you just said that when you're rushing and you're trying to get back out there, you can end up having more of a devastating setback by getting out of order. Because sometimes we can get out of timing. A lot of times we can get out of timing. And when you get out of timing, you can.
the way I look at it from my mental part, right? I look at all my disabilities that I have. When I tore my ACL, I rushed back. And
Okay.
that was the biggest mistake I've ever made because till this day, even though that was happening in 2011, I'm still paying the price.
Wow.
And if I had just took my time, not rushed back, I would be so like you don't understand how much pain I'm in when I run. But I'm determined to do it because that's a whole new other show. But when I rushed back from healing from my ACL, I that was the biggest mistake I ever made, the biggest one. And until this day, I'm still paying a price. So if it's like that physically, imagine how it is mentally. That's how I don't understand how people, when there's a huge circuit, like a huge event or a huge a life changing event that happened or something blew up, and you go right back to normal. Good luck.
Right.
Good luck because you're just not you're just watching the crumbs fall down now because that if you have everything I look at physically. And like if it took me 16 weeks to get back to walking, what makes you think I'm going to be back 16 hours later mentally? It's the
Right.
same muscle. It's still a muscle up here.
And that's
So
true. And you know what? And honestly, what I want to do is just because we see people on the side, we just want to just say hi to everyone that's joining us. Maybe you may have joined us late. Of course, we're here with Zenaida, and I'm joining her, sitting down with what she wants to do. This great opportunity called just Let's Talk. And today we're just talking about the power behind patience. A lot of times we've been taught that waiting is a bad thing. But with Zenaida's testimony and with the weight loss and different things and with her journey is really showing you that there is a lot of power behind patience. And so we've only been in talking for 20 minutes and we got a few more minutes to really talk about the next phase. So we got to talk about something else about this patience.
so one of the things that uh a lot of like the question is like how do I stop being so anxious?
Okay.
Like because anxiety doesn't go away. It comes creeping back every single time. But the thing is, like, you don't allow anxiety to take over you, you take over anxiety. So you do that by being honest and transparent.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things, like, it's an ongoing process. So one of the things that I've said, like, people always inbox me all the time. I'm ready. I want to lose weight. And I always say this with every single person: give up the hardest thing for 15 days and get back to me. No one gets back to me. No one. And because to me, if you can't give up something, the hardest thing for 15 days, what makes you think you're ready for a life change?
Right.
15 days. It's just 15 days. But oh, I can't give up. How, like, I didn't, my weight loss didn't come just joining the gym right away. I gave up the hardest thing for me, which was alcohol. I gave up alcohol for 30 days. And a lot of people, in fact, the majority of them said, I don't think you can do it. I didn't think I could do it because it was the one thing that was almost I was in love with.
Right.
And so not only did I give it up for 30 days, but I ended up giving it for 45 days along with fast food. And I realized, I was like, holy smokes, if I can give up alcohol for 30 days and I lost 10 pounds from doing absolutely nothing, I probably lose more weight if I worked out. That's how that began.
Okay.
But I was already going to therapy. I had to get rid of the weight around me first to start losing the weight on me.
Right. But see, also
So
you got to also think about it when it comes to cause and effect. There was something that caused you, like for example, if someone tells someone that's overweight, if you don't lose this certain amount of pounds at by a certain time, you're going to die. So when someone has that kind of, I don't know, that heaviness on them, I feel in certain ways that push is a little bit more than someone just that's because, like, for example, you can take a smoker. I think that's like something that's even more addicting almost than alcohol. And you tell them that you can just stop smoking. But what happens is it's not like that all the time with with everyone. I mean, you know, everyone has different levels. If someone said, yeah, if you don't stop smoking, you're going to die of cancer, maybe that level, that weight on them could push them into that direction. But sometimes just off the bat, just saying, you know what, I'm going to stop drinking. And there's no benefit.
You want to know my why I want to stop drinking?
Yeah, because the reason why is that if you say stop smoking, what is the benefit of you not smoking? Well, first of all, you won't get cancer or, you know, diseases. You'll be able to
Right.
spend more time with your family.
But
Sometimes
I know exactly what you're saying, but I wanted to share
to
one
stop
thing.
an addiction, to stop something when they can see what the benefit will be. So how do you guide someone? That's what I like to talk about. What is the benefits of doing this? Because maybe sometimes it's a little easier than just stopping cold turkey with doing something.
So one thing I learned when I went to my second set of therapy sessions, which was AA, that cigarettes is not an antidepressant like alcohol is. That's
Okay.
why sometimes alcohol can be a lot harder to give up than cigarettes. So it's something that I like.
Wait a minute, based on the individual, because you got to
No,
understand, everyone,
cigarettes is not an antidepressant.
it may not be a different, listen, I'm talking about actually being able to let go of it. It may not be an
Oh, right.
antidepressant, but it doesn't mean that you don't have just as hard of a time letting it go as someone else. Because remember, we all got different levels with addictions. We all handle different things differently. So it may be easy for you to wipe out alcohol and someone not cigarettes, or vice versa. So everyone has their different things. So I like to kind of like not make the comparison, because we all have our different struggles, and what may be easy for me may not be easy for someone
Right.
else.
So my desire, my to just be like, I want to try this, was after my fourth therapy session. I was just like, she was teaching me about long-term cognitive therapy, which to me, I thought that was the best therapy I ever had. So it was teaching me about long-term, short-term. It's like when you do the hurry up and rush back to normal, that's short-term. You're just going
Okay.
to become a recycling bin. It couldn't, like, peace and happiness may carry on for like a couple weeks, maybe a couple of months, then you're going to go right back into the thing that you were running away from. If you detach the thing that you are trying to please or make happy, you're in it for the long run. So I got out of a relationship. I got rid of, when I came back, I walked away from business. I walked away from relationship. I walked away. I was willing to give up my house. I was willing to give up my bank accounts. I was willing to give up my collections. I was like, have it all. I was done. So, and then once I started getting rid of that weight around me, all of a sudden I was like, I want, I'm gonna quit drinking alcohol. It just came like that.
Um,
But I had to start peeling some onions. And anytime you peel something, of course it's gonna hurt. Your eyes are gonna hurt. You're gonna start crying. You're gonna start doing that. But another I'll talk about pride another day, because that's a whole other topic. But giving up your pride, I remember in sessions, she would be like, we were talking and I had to give up my pride. I'm like, oh, my pride. Oh, this hurts so bad. I would physically do that because it hurt. Giving up your pride is the hardest thing. And that's why I can do competitions and be in so much pain. But I remind myself, giving up my pride was the most painful one out of all the things I've done so far.
But you know what? And also another thing that you did that a lot of people don't do, getting rid of toxic situations. I mean,
That's the hardest.
toxic relationships, toxic jobs. I mean, that is a lot. That's where a lot of the heaviness comes from. I mean, and you wonder, and it's and of course we're talking about owning it, which I do like, because we just can't make excuses and put the blame on people from where we are in life. But you can be connected to someone or a situation, and that toxic situation can wear you down.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so, and I think that's the one thing that I noticed with you. You're right. You put your hands up with the
I'm
situation.
so peaceful right now. It's like the greatest peace I've ever had. I've never felt like I said earlier, I never felt like I've won. So like I feel like the biggest winner there is, and I have nothing to show for it. I don't. It's like almost remarkable, because I do have a video that's on my Instagram that says disconnect from your dysfunction, but
Yes.
no, disappoint your dysfunction. Because if you're such a big people pleaser, they're gonna wipe you out. So, but that's another topic too. But
Yes.
so
Yes, true.
one of the things I want to talk about is like how do you stop being so anxious? So one of the things that I have a plan. I write things down, even down to the smallest workouts, because to me, I'm you have 5,000 thoughts that go through your head. And it's
Right.
kind of like you're fighting 5,000 thoughts, and you want like goals in life. So when you write them down, it gives me a direction where to go. So
Mhm.
and it's helped, and it's been successful.
Right. And you got to also understand, I think it also depends on your lifestyle too. I mean, I think that really helps. But you remember you're a military woman. So you were used to a certain form of discipline as well too. And I think sometimes when you're but think about it, when you're all out there doing okay, it may have been forced discipline, I don't know. But the fact is that when you had those guidelines, it was easier for you to follow along sometimes when you're trying to get yourself back together. Sometimes the discipline is good when you're trying to get back on track. So,
Right. And it does help, but it's in you.
right,
You just gotta wipe off that discipline and just wake it back up and be like, oh, there you are. Let's go for a run.
right,
So
right.
one of the things that I wrote something down. Like I said, I feel that you will never get rid of impatientness. You will never get rid of impatientness, anxiety, and all those emotions that try to control you. I feel like in fact, they are always going to be there. And if they're always going to be knocking on your door. They're always going to be. And then to me, like one thing that I did was when I was like last year, when I was trying to shrink my pride, I kept like I pictured like my demon being this big fat Buddha. I did. I was like, I pictured this pride demon, this impatient demon being this big fat Buddha. And every time I allowed, like, every time I was tested patience, I was like, man, either I feed you or I starve you.
Mm,
So because it's never going to go away. So
right,
anytime I'm tested, I'm like, am I feeding my pride? Or am I feeding my impatientness? Am I feeding my anxiety? Or am I starving it?
right,
Because they're going to be like, so next every time, the more you starve them, the more they're like, oh, help me. But the more you feed them, the more they're like, hey, I got your back. What do you need? Who made you mad?
right.
Who offended you? And all of a sudden they're like, you can gather troops. So my mission in my own world is to starve my demons. I want
Yes.
to starve them because I fed them for so long. So that is how I that's how
And
I do every single day. I do it. From the
and
moment I
even
wake up, I do that.
right. And even with that, remember, even with doing that, you got to have patience with that because sometimes you can rush so fast out of a situation that you haven't been able to learn and develop. And if you're not ready to, because it's from step to step. So if you're not ready to go to that next step, then you also can be pushed back. So even with that, you got to have patience and not say, you know what, I want to get this over with. I'm here. I can do it. No, even with that, you got to take your time. And I think that's why, in some ways, while we're all in this pandemic, that one characteristic was something that I needed to work on. But actually being, like I mentioned earlier, is causing me to step back and say, you know what? Take it easy. Just take it one day at a time. And trying to get back to normal right away may not. Trying to get back to normal can almost cost you your life nowadays. And that's the truth. It's not almost. That's like the truth. Jumping out there too soon can almost be the cost of your life. So um I think that's one thing about, everyone, like you said, we can learn patience. This is something that some things are gonna be an ongoing thing that we're gonna always have to grow
It's a
into and
daily thing, Sean. It's an everyday thing.
it's a never ending cycle. I mean, you're going to constantly have to grow in certain areas. I mean, you have to have patience as a parent, as a spouse, and with business. It's something that's going to be constantly ongoing, and that's the thing.
But I will share this, and then we can end it like this. There's this chart that I always saw in my mind. What you do on your good days reflects on what you do on your bad, like how you respond and react on your bad days. If you on your good days, like how I used to do it, partying, messing around, texting, and blah blah blah, that's fine and all. Go ahead, live your life. You only live once, right? But then on your bad days, you sunk yourself so bad in a hole that it takes you longer to get back up.
Hmm.
So that's how, like, I'm able to bounce back sometimes so fast. Not because I'm impatient, because what I do on my good days, I'm already on my sixth book, right? And to me, books are very challenging for me because I hate reading. I'm very, very, very impatient when it comes down to reading because I fall asleep all the time. I don't know what I'm reading. I have like serious ADD. I'd be like, da, 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 oh, puppies. And then I'm totally distracted. But for me, I was like, I had to stop making excuses. So now
Right.
I wake up every 5:30 in the morning, and I get up and I sit up or I go for a walk and I read a chapter every single day. And now I'm a sixth book already. I would
Oh,
have
that,
never ever thought that I would have been like, all right, I got. But now I'm like, so what I do on my good days, what I do on my high days, is I equip myself
right. And
because
another thing
you are going to have bad days.
right. And one thing I noticed when you were saying, even with a book, I mean, even to pass it on to the people that's, looking, start with small things. I mean, you know what? You reading a chapter a day, that may be small to someone, but that's a great goal. Because when
Mm-hmm.
you start seeing yourself winning in those small little areas, before you know it, then you'll have that drive to be able to do something even bigger. When you're trying to do something, you got to go from step to step, from level to level. Everyone has their own elevator they have to get on and off, and reading one chapter a day may be your elevator floor. And so it may be different for somebody else. And that's why, it goes back to what you talked about in the very beginning. We have to be responsible and accountable. Our yes is needed. It's an individual
It
thing.
is.
Yeah.
I remember I felt this need to start saying this prayer that I had written down in July of 2019. And sorry, Pastor Cheryl, but I hate to admit this, but I felt like, all right, I need to say this prayer every day. I don't know. I wasn't going to church then, but I would say it hungover. I would say it was so much alcohol in my breath. I would say it like with one eye open. But then now I see the purpose behind that. So everything that you do matters for your future. Everything that you do, no matter what, no matter your actions, your yes to that action reflects what you do in the future. And if you try to avoid it, if you try to avoid responsibility, you're just causing a ripple effect.
And then one thing that you said that I love is that, because we were talking about before, a couple of days ago, the perfection, being a perfectionist. But I love the fact that you did it while you weren't your best. If you would have waited until you got rid of the alcohol, until your life was perfect, would you even have made that step? And that's another thing that people have to understand. Don't wait for perfect situations, because they don't exist.
They don't exist.
In the midst of when you're going through, fight through it. Don't wait until you have like the best attitude, your account is great, you have the best marriage, your children are perfect. In the midst of all the chaos, start working through it, because I guarantee you, when you start taking those small baby steps, eventually you'll have the momentum and the drive to start doing bigger things. But I like that, because a lot of times I've known, and I've done it myself, you want to wait until everything's perfect for you to make that step, and it doesn't
It
happen. I
doesn't
mean,
exist.
out of all these years, I wish somebody would have told me this years ago. They don't exist. I could have saved a lot of heartache, but you know what? You grow through it. But now it's
That's,
like you got to
that's
go with
why I
the
say.
flow.
That's why I say pay your price.
Yes.
Pay your price. If you don't pay your sometimes you I wish everyone would just pay your price at an early age so you can save some years. Because go ahead, pay your price. But I always say that listening is free. Listening
Right.
is free. Because if I can save you a few $1,000s and then you can just wait a couple years to open your business because you really want to fix yourself, just watch. But if you're impatient because you need to prove something, all right, pay your price. Not that I wish bad upon you, but man, if you can only just wait one more year, maybe 2 more years, and just repair this, you can see, you can be, if this muscle was healed, how much more you'd be able to use a healed muscle.
Yes.
So with that being said, thank you, Shani, for joining me
This
for
was bad. And thank you to everyone that was out there that joined us. I mean, this is, of course, thank you for inviting me, Zenaida. This is the first time. This is, inaugural. So this is the first time. But I hope you all got something out of it, because you know what? Zenaida's journey, she's my god sister, family, friend. But it's just like seeing being with her during the ups and downs. And, I've seen her at her worst. And now to see where she's at, it's really a blessing. And even in that, Zenaida, you still have to have patience even with doing this. That's the one thing I love about your drive, because you got a lot of drive. When you get something, you go to it. But even in the midst of that patience, take it slow, take that one step at a time and build that momentum. But I'm really excited for you. I'm excited for Iron Therapy. And as you tell everyone, our yes is definitely
your
needed.
yes. No matter what, so if someone says I did everything for you, where they at? Where they at? Your yes is needed for all your decisions. Can you imagine one day you go to heaven and you tell God, like, I couldn't accomplish my goals because Timmy was, I was listening to Timmy. And God be like, what? I gave you that
You. You look, I gave you ability.
your yes. I needed your yes, not Timmy. So your yes is needed for every decision that you do, whether good or bad. It's your yes that's needed. It's your yes. It's your responsibility, your accountability. So, all right, thank you so much,
Good
guys.
night, everyone. Stay safe, and
Yes.
we're all going to get through this together. God bless you all.
Bye bye.
Bye.
It's done. We're done. We're done.
Okay.
I
You
think.
sure?